In this video, we're going to discuss how to create tables and figures and how to refer to them using a reference scheme, kind of like what we did for equations. So I would suggest if you haven't watched the previous videos in the series, you do so. What I've done here is I've loaded some packages that we'll need for various mathematical typesetting purposes. And in a previous video, I discussed how you can create your own LaTeX commands. So here are a few that I actually used in a previous video. You will not need them, however, for this particular video. So we're going to start with a table for the function, or I'll say a table of values for the function f of x equals x squared is shown in table. And I'm going to number the table in a moment. So let's just say begin table. Now you can see how we can click on the environment. What we're going to do is we're going to create a table environment. And this is really nice because this is going to allow us to quickly create a table with a caption and with a label as well. So inside the brackets, I'm going to type H, which is usually a signal that you want to insert the table here. Now, what do these lines mean? Centering is a command that we can use in an environment like the table environment or the figure environment for centering what we have on a page. And then we're going to begin our table using the tabular command. So we go begin tabular, and then we have open braces. And this C and the C indicates that we're going to have a table of values with two columns separated by a vertical segment. So the entries in each row will be separated by the ampersand, x, and we want that to be in math mode. So let's put x, f of x, and something in the next row like 2 and 4. And then we need to go to a new line, so we go backslash, backslash, 3 and 9, and so on. And let's see what that looks like over here. Okay, you can see a partial table of values. Now what's missing here? Well, it would be nice if we had a horizontal segment right there. So after f of x, so what we could do is backslash, backslash, and then h line. And that will create a horizontal segment like that. If you wanted to add vertical segments over on the left and the right to your table, you could do that simply by adding a couple little vertical segments right there. Okay? And if you wanted a horizontal line at the top before you start the table, you could say H line, and then at the very bottom, you could say H line, line return, and then H line above as well. And if we wanted to add a horizontal line between the first row and the second row, we could do that as well. And so here's what we have. Now in Overleaf, it's nice because you notice how I began to type table, and it basically created the tabular and the centering and all of that. It now is the case that we want to add a caption. So right after we end the tabular, we enter a caption. So let's say a partial table of values for, and we're in text mode. So let's go to math mode. And now we have a reasonable caption right here. Now, this table has a label right here. So I'm going to give it a meaningful name, quadratic. And then up here, I want to make reference to it. So I'm going to do something similar to what we did for equation referencing. I'll type backslash reference and open brace, and actually I can pre-populate with quadratic. And there's what we have. A table of values for the function f of x is shown in table 1. So referencing in tables is very similar to what we do for equations. Now let's talk about inserting a figure. Now, it's important that when you create a figure, and there's many different formats you use, you put that figure in the same directory as the text file with which you're working. So there's lots of different ways to create figures. What I've done in this particular situation is I created a figure in Mathematica. I saved it in EPS format. JPEG and PNG would work as well. And then I opened it in an editor. I've used Adobe Illustrator in the past, but now that they don't go to a standalone purchase version, I have started using something else. Lots of different things out there. I use Sketch. So what I did is I created this plane, and basically the arrows we see in Mathematica, and then I created the labels of the vectors in Sketch itself. So this blue vector here is what we call the orthogonal projection. Now, to allow yourself to create graphics, you want to say use package graphics. Okay. Let's enter a new line, new bar. Figure, I'm going to leave this blank because we're going to reference, shows the depiction of the orthogonal projection. So let's say begin figure, and let's click on environment. Okay, so the centering is going to center the figure on our page. The include graphics right in here is where I will put the name of my file. So my file, I saved it already. It's called vector projection. So now we've included it. We can enter a caption. So I'll enter the caption orthogonal projection depiction. And I have a figure, so I'm going to have a label. Let's just call it projection. And of course, I will create a corresponding reference up here, and I'll do that simply by copying and pasting. And I'll replace the word label with reference. Okay, let's see what this looks like when we typeset. Well, that didn't look too good because what happened is there was not enough space on the page to actually fit this in. So here's what we can do. We can use what's known as the scale box command. So / scale box, open brace, scale by the amount you want. I'm going to try by 40%, open brace, and then put that close brace right here as well. Now let's give it a shot. Okay, now you can see what happened is that the figure got put above the table. So let's try putting \h here in the same way we did for the table and see if the figure appears after the table. And it does. Okay, figure 1 shows the depiction of the orthogonal projection. So this is how we create a table, and this is how we create a figure in LaTeX. And again, it's convenient to use Overleaf because it pre-populates with many of the commands you need right here.